Hey fellow Nevillers, welcome back to the channel. I'm Sarah, otherwise known as Neville o'clock, which roughly translates to every hour of the day is Neville o'clock, because I listen to him every day. I'm here to share Neville's wisdom from his lectures, either a book or a chapter, and I read it and then share how I perceive it to help you lovelies out there understand Neville's works wherever you are on your journey. So let's dive in, fellow Nevillers. Today I've got my nose up in Neville's 1948 master lessons. So there's 5 of these, fellow Nevillers, and I'm up in lesson 3, thinking fourth dimensionally. There's a famous story here which we call the duck story. It's relevant to mental diets. What Neville's showing us here is what you feed on mentally is important, and he shares this point via a story from his childhood about feeding the ducks. Let's dive in, fellow Nevillers. He says, let me give you 2 personal stories. When I was a boy, I lived in a very limited environment, a little island called Barbados. Feed for animals was very, very, very scarce and very expensive because we had to import it. I am of a family of 10 children, and my grandmother lived with us, making 13 at the table. Can you imagine trying to find food for 13? Time and time again, I can remember my mother saying to the cook in the early part of the week, I want you to put away 3 ducks. Sunday's dinner. This meant that she would take from the flock in the yard 3 ducks and coop them up in a very small cage and feed them, stuff them morning, noon and night with corn and all the things she wanted the ducks to feast upon. This was an entirely different diet from what we regularly feed the ducks, because we kept those birds alive by feeding them fish. We kept them alive and fat on fish because fish was very cheap and plentiful, but you could not eat a bird that fed upon fish. Not as you would like a bird. The cook would take 3 ducks, put them in a cage, and for 7 days stuff them with corn, sour milk, and all the things she wanted to taste in the birds. Then, when they were killed and served for dinner 7 days later, they were luscious, milk-fed corn birds. But occasionally the cook forgot to put away the birds, and my father, knowing we were having ducks and believing that she had carried out the command, did not send anything else for dinner, and 3 fish came to the table. You could not touch those birds, for they were so much the embodiment of what they fed upon. Man is a psychological being, a thinker. It is not what he feeds upon physically, but what he feeds upon mentally that he becomes. We become the embodiment of that which we mentally feed upon. Now, those ducks could not be fed corn in the morning and fish in the afternoon, and something else at night. It had to be a complete change of diet. In our case, we cannot have a little bit of meditation in the morning, curse at noon, and do something else in the evening. We have to go on a mental diet for a week. We must completely change our mental food. So there you have it, what Neville's telling you there in black and white on the page, well, what I'm telling you on the page in black and white. Basically, my lovelies, you can't feed yourself TV and all that kind of thing, negative viewing stuff, if you watch that kind of thing on the box. And then expect, what would Neville say? He'd say, and then expect to have command of life, because you've been feeding yourself stuff from the television, which generally isn't so positive. That's if you're viewing the unpositive stuff. And you put it into your brain, it goes into your consciousness, and then that's what comes out via your thoughts, feelings and behaviours, superstitions, judgments and beliefs. There's a famous Bible quote that I've committed to memory mostly. It's written on a card. It says, whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are honest, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. This is from Philippians 4:8. So basically, fellow Nevillers, you have to be careful what you take in via your senses, what you hear, what you see and what you read. What we take in via our senses is what we call our mental diet. So if you're thinking unlovely things, we need to change those. Trust me, fellow Nevillers, I've been there. I'm now working through my journey. What we feed ourselves is vitally important. So if you're trying to manifest wealth, success, new home and SP, that's what you need to feed yourself via your mental diet. Fill your consciousness with things of beauty, things of lovely stuff and noble ideas, as Neville always intimates in his lectures. Be careful what you're brainwashed with, really, fellow Nevillers, is what he's trying to tell us. So that's today's video. Feel free, fellow Nevillers, to leave a comment and some love, because YouTube loves a thumbs up. Big fat kiss, because I'm all about love up here. I'll see you tomorrow. Subscribe if you haven't, and there's links down there to the 2 Facebook groups I belong to, because this journey, fellow Nevillers, is all about saturating your mind with good stuff, either Neville's teachings or the other great minds. All about being disciplined. I belong to an inner mastery group that you may be interested in, where we focus on it, literally that, mastering your inner workings, i.e. your mind, attention and thoughts. Thanks guys, see you next time, bye.